Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. If you're new here, my name is Shay and today we're going to do a video that is a reading monthly wrap up with a review on the books that I've read for the last 2 months. So I'm going to wrap up January and February. Hopefully this video works. I have filmed this one multiple times and for whatever reason my footage just won't work. It won't sync to my laptop. Everything's a mess to the point where I'm actually filming on my phone right now. If this is skewed and sideways, I'm sorry. I can't even get my stand to work right today. So if you're a little bit crooked, I apologize. I am trying to film on the back camera so that I can get the best footage, and I can't see if I'm in frame or not right now. I've done a few test trials and yeah, we're off to a not so great start, but I really want to get this video up for you. It's Friday night now, so I want to get it up for you tomorrow. So you'll be seeing this Saturday if you watch it on the day it comes out. But anyway, we're going to jump straight in. Some of the books I'm going to review are predominantly in like the supernatural, romance, sometimes sci-fi sort of genre. They are my preferred reading genres. And I have also given them a up to 5-star rating as well. So my rating system is pretty much anything that's a 1-star is sort of like a DNF, like I didn't finish it. I hated it. I didn't like the story, the plot line, the writing. It's never really a reflection on the author themselves. It's more just the actual story and the book and how the book was written or presented. 2 stars for me are kind of like the books that are just a little bit meh. So the ones that I probably won't remember down the track, ones that even if I finished it weren't very good. Yeah, they're kind of the unmemorable books. So it's not necessarily that it would be a bad book, but there are some that I've given a 2-star because I didn't really like. But some of them are just like they're not memorable at all. 3 stars for me, anything that's 3 stars and above is a good book in my opinion. And all of this is just my opinion, so if you don't necessarily agree, that's okay. So 3 stars for me are the books that I like. So they're the ones that I would still recommend that people read. They're probably not ones that I would reread and not necessarily ones where I would continue on in a series if there were more books to come. A 4-star for me is books that I absolutely love. So I would reread them, definitely recommend them. I love them. 5 stars are the ones that I can't forget, the ones that I think about when it's been years later, the ones that I really want to rush to get home, to pick back up, to continue reading because I want to know what happens next. So they're a little bit more rare, I think, 5 stars. But I think maybe that's just me at the moment. I am very much a mood reader a lot of the times as well. So I do kind of try to tend to stick to books that I'm in the mood to read. That way I'm not doing a disservice to the books that I do read. So with all that in mind, I have read books on my Kindle predominantly. So most of them are on the Kindle. I did get a heap of free books on, I think it was Boxing Day, when they did their promo through Kindle, Amazon, whoever it is, for Stuff Your Kindle Day, where essentially they basically give you a bunch of titles for free to purchase, and there are a lot of shorter stories, a lot of first books in a series, a lot of self-published books. So I will let you know the ones that I actually paid for and the ones that I got for free, because in my experience some of the free ones just aren't the best. But I will let you know so that you get context on whether I gave it a decent rating because I had to pay for it or not. I also have physical copies of books and I do listen to audiobooks, so they will all be mixed in. I will let you know which ones are which. With Audible, if you've never had it before, every month you pay, I think my membership is about 17, 18 bucks. You get 1 credit a month to spend. You can buy books, but otherwise they have their Plus catalog. So when I say it was free on Audible, even though technically I'm paying for the membership, the books are the ones that I've got as a part of the Plus catalog that are free for that one. And I'll just let you know the ones that I've actually purchased either through money or a credit. All right, so let's get started and jump right in. The first book that I did read this year in Jan was one of the free ones on the Kindle. I would not want to have purchased this one, but I still had a good time with it. It's called Gentle Giant, and because I'm filming on my phone, I literally made notes right here. So it's called Gentle Giant. It's by Sue Mercury. As you can probably see from the cover, it is a monster romance. I did get a lot of random books, including like monster romance, mafia, dark romance, normal romance, bits and pieces. A lot of romances in there. Some fantasy or romantasy ones. So this one is a monster romance. It's not my usual preference for like genres of books, but I thought I'd give it a go because it was free. I did end up giving this one 3 stars. It was okay. It was pretty basic. Like the world, you follow the main character. She is broken up with her boyfriend. It's on Earth, but it's like a futuristic Earth. There's a war going on. There's like aliens. I think that this may have like an interconnected series that is alien based. This one was all sort of like Yeti, Sasquatch kind of based, and then the further along in the series you meet other Sasquatch characters, and then it's their stories. Yeah, this one was like, it was all right. It was a good time, but I definitely won't continue with the series. I'd probably be a little bit disappointed if I had paid for it because it was also a little bit on the shorter side as well, but it was very basic. You're very much a like Insta love type sort of trope. But yeah, 3 stars for that one. Next up was A Court of Wings and Ruin, which is the 3rd book in the Akatar series. I was listening to these ones on Audible. So the first book in this series, because I don't want to tell you much about the 3rd one because it is continued on and it will spoil it. I really can't speak. So it will spoil it for you. So I don't know if I mentioned, but this is by Sarah J. Maas. So her Akatar series, which begins with A Court of Thorns and Roses. It follows Feyre. She is a human. She kills a wolf to try and feed her family, and the wolf ends up being Fae. And so the Fae come and kidnap her and basically take her back to their realm, and she has some sort of destiny there that she has to fulfill to sort of help them and save them. So the first book in this series was kind of boring to me, but it had so much hype around it. So I continued through and I listened to all of them on Audible. And I will say that the narrator for the first 3 books, I don't know if she continues on with the rest of the series, is fantastic. If she wasn't as good, I probably wouldn't have stuck it out for the first one. But in the back of my mind, when I was going through the first one, it was sort of reminding me of Harry Potter. So not the storyline so much, but more so that I remember having trouble getting through the first Harry Potter book, and I didn't really get into it at first. But there was so much hype around that as well, so that I pushed through and then I ended up loving the series. So I did that with the first one. I pushed through the first Akatar book, and by the end of it, I enjoyed the story so much so that I continued on. I did give this 3rd book 4 stars. I'd given the second one 4 stars and the first one, I think 3 stars. So it's definitely good. I don't know that I would continue the story on after that, now that it's sort of rounded out that Feyre's character arc a little bit, and I'm sure like they're still in the series, like the characters continue on, they're all interconnected, but I don't know that it's necessarily something that I'll continue, at least not right now. But I did enjoy and have a good time with the books in the end as they are. So very much more on the romance than fantasy side of things for those ones. So 4 stars for those. Okay, I hope the lighting's okay for that, as you can tell. I'm just making sure I'm recording because I'm having a time of it. All right, so I did start talking about the 3rd book that I listened to. So it was Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This one was in the Audible membership, so I didn't have to pay for this one. I didn't use a credit for this one. And I'm really glad for that because I did not enjoy it at all. It's the first in her Devil's Night series. It follows Rika and Michael. I gave this book a 2 star before I start getting into the story synopsis, but follows Rika and Michael. You get a little bit of past and present with them because they knew each other from the past, and she was hanging out with Michael and his friends, and then something happened and Michael's friends ended up in prison. And it's like 2 years later, the friends have got out of prison and they're on this little revenge scheme, and you don't really know what happened, and you sort of learn that as you go along, and you get the snippets of like their past and their present. So the book was very predictable for me, and I only gave it 2 stars because even though I sort of had an idea of what was going on with the story, I just kind of wanted to sit it out and get to the end. With, I think, Penelope Douglas's books for me, like she's got a decent like mind for stories. I like enjoyed the stories that she's come up with, but for this one and one of her other books in particular, her characters are written very immaturely, and I just can't get behind it. If you like that sort of like teen drama, you can definitely will probably enjoy this. But for me, the characters were just so immature to the point that I really don't like a miscommunication trope when it comes to romance. And this was kind of like a mixture of miscommunication and just childish behavior. And I just didn't like any of the characters. I really could not get on board with any of them. I didn't really care if any of them had a happy ending for this book. Yeah, so 2 stars for this one. The audiobook was like, the narrator was fine. Nothing bad to say at all. The story wasn't exactly bad. I just didn't like the characters in this one and will not be continuing on. And I would have been really disappointed if I had actually paid for that one. So as far as I know, all the ones that are part of the membership are all still a part of the membership. None of them have expired. So they're all still free at this time if you do want to listen to them. But yeah, I would not recommend Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. And I have no interest in continuing the series at all. All right, the next one was it wasn't a physical book. This one I read on my Kindle. It's Fairydale by Veronica Lancet. So I did actually purchase this one. It wasn't a freebie, and I gave it 3 stars. It follows Darcy, our female main character. She is orphaned as a child. She finds out later in life that she had a biological father that's passed away, and she's been placed in his will. And in order to get the inheritance, she has to go to Fairydale, which is the town where her father lived, and she has to stay there for a specific amount of time. But when she gets there, the town's not quite what she expected. Everyone's got secrets. There's lots of weird stuff going on. And it was, in the synopsis, described as sort of like a, how did they put it? Like a gothic romance sort of thing. For me, if you want to go into it blind, well, I've pretty much just spoiled that actually for you, but you can read the synopsis and listen to what I'm saying about this book. And without me giving spoilers, it definitely did not go anywhere where I thought it was going to go. So it was a complete surprise where this book went. It was a long book too, so really if you're not interested in reading a long book, this one's definitely not for you. I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it and I would recommend it, but it was just one of those books that when I wasn't reading it, I wasn't thinking about it. I had a good time when I was reading it, but I wasn't dying to know what happened at the end or to unravel the mystery that's going on in the book. And there is a bit of a mystery going on. So definitely worth the read if you think it's something that you would be interested in. For me, it just wasn't something that I really wanted to rush back to and thought about it. But yeah, definitely a good time when I was reading it. So 3 stars for Fairydale. Then I had 2 more Audible books that I listened to for January. And the second last one is Hating the Boss by Kristen Granata. This one was just a short story. It was about 5 hours of listening time. It was just a contemporary romance. It was free in the membership, but I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was a fantastic fun time. It was dual narration, which I really love. So that's when anytime there's a male speaking, the male narrator will do all the male voices. And then anytime there's the female or female characters speaking, the female narrator will do those voices. And I think throughout this book, the female narrator did all like the background narration as well. I can't remember if it was dual POV, this book. But anyway, the narrators in this just really made this book. I don't know. I assume I would have had just as much fun if I was reading the book. But yeah, definitely worth a listen if you've got Audible and you want to check this one out, or any other sort of service that does the same sort of thing. So Hating the Boss by Kristen Granata, 4 stars. It's basically a very predictable, almost insta-love romance, but there's a lot of banter, there's a lot of pranks. And even though I just said for Corrupt that I hate immature like characters, this was still fun. Like, it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. So definitely recommend that one. The last one, I probably shouldn't have rated this one, but I did anyway. It's Daimon by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one is a prequel to, I think it's her Half-Blood series, which is a YA series. I have not read the series. I have no interest in reading it. And the prequel, to me, it was like about an hour's worth of listening time. And I listen at 1.5, so roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours of actual listening time. I just feel like when you have a book and it gives you sort of snippets of how your main character got to where they are at the start of a series, that's essentially what this prequel was. It was just the lead up to the start of the series, at least I'm assuming so. And I don't think it would have actually brought anything to the story. It's not like you're getting a brand new glimpse of anything. Like, you're getting a story that you probably haven't heard that leads up to where the series starts. But there was nothing in that story particularly that I think would have made the story better, that you couldn't have just got through snapshots of like the past in the actual story. I hope that makes sense, especially because I haven't actually read the series, so I'm probably not a good judge of if it's worth listening to or not. So take that on board as well. But for me, I think if you're going to do a prequel, I don't know, do more. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, basically I just don't think it would have brought anything to the story. Unless you really love this series and you just wanted a little snapshot or a little bit extra on the side, then yeah, maybe you'll love that. But for me, it did not make me want to go out and read the series after reading that little snapshot of the book. All right, so then we move into our February reads. So I started with rereads at the start of February. So I wanted to refresh my memory before Onyx Storm came out. So I reread Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. Technically, this is the first time I'm reading these books. I did listen to the first 2 on graphic audio when Audible had those, and they still have those out. So I would 100% recommend the graphic audios for these books. I don't think the Onyx Storm graphic audio is coming out for another few months, but as soon as it does, I'm gonna listen to it and do a basically a reread. But yeah, so this is the first time I'm actually reading it, but the graphic audios do a really good job and it was so much fun to listen to. I listened to the audiobooks first because I didn't think I would enjoy reading Fourth Wing. I thought it might feel too young for me because as much as I do enjoy some of the stories that are YA, I don't always feel like I connect with the characters like I would have back when I was 15, 16, 17, 18. But I think just due to the nature of the story, it's a lot easier to read as an adult, and it's a really, really good story. So Fourth Wing is the first in the series. I won't delve too much into the second and third book, just because obviously the story continues and I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But the first book starts off and we're following our female main character, which is Violet Sorrengail. She wants to enlist as a scribe, but her mother essentially forces her to go to the Dragon Quadrant, which is a lot more dangerous. So in the Dragon Quadrant, they're basically preparing for war. So there is a lot of on-page like death and war and fighting. So just check your trigger warnings for this one, if that is something that may affect you. But for sure, this one is probably not as graphic, I would say. in the sense that there's not as much war in this one as there is in the second and third one, but you do see on page death and fighting and gore, so just be careful for that if that is necessary for you to worry about. So we're following Violet. She essentially has to try and survive her first year at this essentially is a war college. She is learning to be a dragon rider, which means she has to learn how to fight. She has to then try and bond with a dragon and not get killed in the process. And we're following her and her friends as they try to survive their first year. I gave this one 5 stars, both for the audio and for the book. Iron Flame is obviously continuation on, so I won't tell you the premise of the book so it doesn't spoil anything, but I gave this one a 4-star for both those ratings for the audiobooks and the physical books are the same. Not because it was bad. I actually think I liked the story better in this one right up until the end. The ending became a little bit predictable and it wasn't the direction I wanted the story to go. But it went there anyway, which makes sense because it kind of follows like a proper fantasy sort of, how would I put it? Like formula, I guess. It's following a certain formula. So it was a little bit predictable and I didn't really want the series to go the way that it did, but it did. And I still love the book and I still will continue on the series 100%. But that meant this one was a 4-star read for me. And then Onyx Storm, because of where the story went, this book to me, like it was still a good book and I will definitely be continuing the series. This book felt like a lot of filler. There was a lot going on and people absolutely love this book. I think I'm one of the few, I'm like the exception. This book for me, yeah, it just felt like filler. There was a lot going on, but I feel like it didn't progress the story as much as I was hoping it would. So I gave this one a 3-star. I don't know though, because I was trying to rush the first 2 books to get to this one before I got any spoilers. So I don't know if I would stick to a 3-star or if I were to do a reread, I would make it higher. So we shall see when the audiobook comes out because I will be listening to the audiobook, the graphic audio, and see if maybe I give it a higher score because I was just trying to get in before all the spoilers. So I don't know if I was necessarily in the mood to read this book, but I did want to get to it. But yeah, it was my least favorite of the 3 so far and I've given it 3 stars. But having said that, I still enjoyed it. I still recommend it and I'm super excited for the next 2 years for when the next book comes out. All right, so the next 4 books that I'm going to mention are all free from my Kindle, from that Stuff Your Kindle promotion. Most of them are trash and I would not be recommending. So the first one is called Lost with My Dad's Best Friend. I didn't write the author down because I did not think of that for the next 2 books either, apparently. But I will have the cover up here so you can see the author on that one. So Lost with My Dad's Best Friend, I gave it 1 star. Literally took me an hour to read. I'm pretty sure on my Goodreads, I said it was a synopsis with an epilogue. The book, I'm going to tell you the synopsis, but that is the entire book. So once I tell you what the synopsis is, there's going to be no surprise. But it literally took me like an hour to read. It was so quick and short, which is probably for the best because even though I was hating every second of it, I was kind of, I don't want to hate read, but I just could not believe how little there was to this book. It was literally over before I even, started it. But essentially the premises of this is that a girl goes home to visit her father for his birthday. Her father's setting up his birthday party, so he can't pick her up from the airport. So he sends his best friend. It's snowing. They're driving 2 hours home. They get just outside of their town when all of a sudden they can't go any further. They walk to his cabin. They spend the night together. They go to her dad's party the next day and the dad's best friend decides, oh, I really love her, but it's going to be weird because she's my best friend's daughter. And then he leaves the party. And then she realizes he's left the party and goes after him. And then the end, you get an epilogue that's 2 years later. So that was the story. 1 star. It sucked. Don't waste your time. And definitely don't waste your money. Okay, that's terrible. But yeah, so was the book. The next one was called Demons Are a Girl's Best Friend. This one, I also didn't write down the author, but I will put the cover up somewhere. So hopefully you can read the author's name there. Just, more so that you can probably avoid this book if you want to. This one was a little bit better than last one. I gave it 2 stars. It follows Brenna, our main female character. Essentially, it's a demon story, obviously. It's like a supernatural story. Romance. So she ends up, works for a museum, and she's kind of like an apprentice type thing. I don't know if that's exactly the right terminology, but she's not an actual employee, but she is doing her uni degree, and she does do work experience through the museum that we're sort of set at. The museum gets this diamond. There's 2 of the full-time workers there that are trying to, what they need to do with this diamond is essentially like date it or something, but it's got this curse following it. Everyone that's previously tried to look into this diamond has ended up dead somehow. And so these 2 museum workers are like, call in Brenna, the apprentice, make her do it so we don't end up dead, and we put all the pressure on her. And essentially she takes over the task, is super happy to do it, even though she knows about all the curses around this rock. And then she goes to take it home to study it further when in comes the demons. And the demons tried to kill her to get the rock because they can't just steal it from her because technically she owns it. And then one of the other demons, it's like the good demon, saves her, and they've got to try and figure out how to somehow safely hide this rock because for whatever reason they can't destroy it. So that was the entire story. It's a romance, so obviously it's somewhat predictable. It was okay. I will just never care to read it again. And I did finish it. The story writing wasn't bad. It was just a really short story, very insta love, which I don't always mind. But yeah, I don't know. There was just nothing to it that really stood out to me. It didn't feel like I didn't feel anything from the characters, for the characters, anything like that. So 2 stars for me on that one. I didn't pay for it, and I'm glad I didn't have to pay for it. I probably would have given it a 1 star if I had actually forked over any cash for that book. The next one, again, was such a short read. I don't even think this one took me an hour to read. It was even worse than Lost with My Dad's Best Friend. But this one's called Coffee and Kittens by Christina Mattingly. It's a 1 star. It literally took me 5 minutes to read it. The story was this, it's like an age gap romance, and this girl walks into this coffee shop because she likes the guy that owns the coffee shop, and then, yeah, one day she doesn't go back and they fall in love. That was the story. It sucked. Don't buy it. It had a lot of really good reviews, so I don't know, but maybe people just really want like a quick, snappy story that's super predictable. But I don't know. This video is going to go longer than it took me to read that read that book. So don't hate me and give me a 1 star. But anyway, or do whatever. Anyway, so the last audiobook that I read, the last Kindle book that was free that I read out of this particular month was called Silver Fox by Stevie Sparks. This one was a shorter story. It was sort of a Valentine's Day theme read. I did actually give this one a 3 star, so good for you, Stevie Sparks. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read in my life. It's not something that will probably be memorable, but I was having a good time when I was reading it. It was, again, on the shorter side, but it was actually like a short story novella type thing rather than like a chapter of a book. It follows our female main character. She basically walks in to find her boyfriend having sex with her sister, and he's kind of like a douchebag also. So she leaves. It's like Valentine's Day, so she decides, screw it, I'm going to dress up, go out to a bar looking real hot. She meets a guy at the bar. She goes to go to the toilet. Her ex finds her, basically tries to pin her up against the wall and hurt her. So, just maybe check the trigger warnings for this one as well. Though it's very, very mild on the side of things like that. But yeah, if it is something you need to check. And then she gets saved by the hot guy from the bar. This one is also an age gap, but not to the point where it's actually like a theme of the book really. It's just mentioned in there, but it's not like it's a taboo type age gap romance style book. It's more just like he's a little bit older than she is, and apparently that just needed to be mentioned all the time in the book. But yeah, so yeah, it was kind of insta love, insta lust type book. It was a good read. I had a good time with it. It wasn't going to change my world, and the fact that it was free just made it better. So if you can get it for free, good. If it's anything more than like at $1 or $2, I probably would be very careful about buying it. Anyway, moving on. All right, I've got 2 more books left for February and then the end of this video. So hopefully I haven't talked your ear off unless you enjoy these sort of videos. So the next one was an audio book. This one I purchased. It's Quicksilver by Callie, Hart, and it was a 4-star read for me. This one's dual narration as well. I think that's what it's called. I hope that's what it's called, where all the male lines are read by the male narrator and all the female lines are read by the female narrator. This one was fantastic. The book was really, really good. I really enjoyed the book, but I would also definitely recommend the audio as well, because the dual narration, the narrators for this book were phenomenal. You could tell who the characters were, even though it was only 2 people voicing an entire book's worth of characters. You could tell who the characters were by how they did the voice, and it wasn't like them putting on some stupid voice that like would be really irritating to listen to. They were actually just really, really good at narrating. So it was just like having a voice that was a little bit higher pitched or a little bit lower pitched, and it was just really, really, really done well. But Quicksilver, it follows our main character, Saris. She is from this world where there's no night. It's really hot. She comes from the Third, which is basically the really poverty-stricken area where the rich capital of, or like the leading ruler of this particular world that she is from, is basically trying to eradicate everyone from the Third by starving them and not giving them enough water, and basically having them live in terrible conditions, waiting for them to die. And Saris, she ends up going up to the I think it's called the capital. I could be calling it the wrong thing, but essentially goes where the royalty lives, just so that she can try and steal something to sell to feed her family. She ends up getting caught. She gets, or is about to get executed, and she gets sucked into this Quicksilver pool and ends up in another land where she meets Kingfisher, our male main character, who has one of the worst names ever, but you kind of just get over it if Kingfisher is not something you can picture saying out loud a lot. It's kind of annoying to me, but the story is so good that you just kind of forget about it. And then he has essentially manipulated her into helping him before he'll help her get back home, because she has family at home that she wants to try and protect and take care of. So yeah, 4 stars for Quicksilver. Definitely recommend the audiobook if you aren't a big reader. It was so much fun to listen to. And it went really quickly. Like, the pace of the book was really quick. So it didn't feel like I was listening to a book for 10 hours, 15 hours, whatever it was. Yeah, it just went really quickly and it was really good. It is, however, the first in a series, and none of the other books are written yet. So just keep that in mind. And then the last audiobook that I listened to for February was Curse of Shadows and Thorns by LJ Andrews. This one was also a freebie in the membership. If I had have paid for this one, I probably would have been disappointed. I gave this one 2 stars. I had no idea what was going on at any point in time in this book. It was an easy listen, I will say, to the point that, because sometimes I would just kind of tune out, because I would listen to it while I was driving to work. So I'd just get distracted by my driving and not really pay attention to what was happening with the story. The narrator for this one was not very good. I didn't really enjoy her way of speaking. When she tried to do different character voices, she would change one word at the start of the sentence and then her voice would just sort of drift off to her normal voice. I really didn't have much of a clue sometimes if she was narrating or speaking for a character or reading out thoughts of the character, because I couldn't tell who was speaking, if they were speaking out loud, if it was internal monologue, if she was just narrating. It was kind of a mess in that regard. And then the story itself was, I don't know if it was supposed to be YA, but it very much read like YA. Our main female character, she was supposed to be like 19 or 20 in the book, but she felt like she was 13 or maybe 16, let's say 16, with a crush. And I had no feelings towards any of the characters. They could have all died and I wouldn't have even blinked an eye, but we're supposed to believe that they were in this epic love, you know, that's going to span all these other books that apparently come after this one. And I honestly have no feelings towards any of them at all. Without giving away too much of a spoiler, because the plot of this is essentially our female main character has to try and break this curse, but she doesn't know there's a curse, and I don't know. I don't really know what this book was about. Let's just be honest, and I'll leave it there. But yeah, like the characters were supposed to sort of feel like they were falling in love, and there's some sort of betrayal at the end, but not really. And the reason I decided to listen to this book was because of one of those like little snapshots that you get on like Reels or TikTok. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. This looks so dramatic and fun and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was such a letdown at the end when it didn't really pan out how it was described in this reel. So I spent all that time listening to an audiobook that was not very good because of a decent reel advertisement. So yes, I was influenced by book talk and I was disappointed once again. So 2 stars for this book. I wouldn't necessarily recommend. It was very YA, so if you want something that's a little bit more clean, they had a few kissing scenes in this book and that was about it. And honestly, it kind of sounded like kissing a dead fish. I did not like this one at all, but I gave it 2 stars because I finished it, because I was kind of curious to get to this point where my little reel had enticed me to listen to the book, and yeah, it was not worth it. So going into next month, it's not quite the end of February now, so I'm literally filming this the day before it comes up, so it's the 21st now. There's still a few days left of the month. I am somewhat in between a few books on my Kindle. They are some of the free ones that I got on Stuff Your Kindle Day, so some of them aren't very good. I don't know that I'll finish them, but I've just kind of skipped over them for now, and I may or may not go back to them. If I don't end up going back to them and I don't end up finishing them because I just don't like them, I will give them a rating. If it's ones that I'm going to come back to like months down the track, I won't rate them. I'll just leave them unread for now. And then I only have 2 books that I definitely want to read this month, or next month essentially. And that is the Kristen Broadbent duology, The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. These are going to be my next reads once I sort of figure out what I'm doing with my audio, with my Kindle books at the moment. Yeah, so look out for my review for these ones because they are going to be next after this weekend. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It's going to be a bit of a long one, so if you've stuck around to the end, thank you so much. I will try and keep it concise because yeah, I'm really on a reading kick at the moment, so hopefully to get through enough books that I can sort of start tackling my physical TBR that I'm collecting for the library, which will hopefully be built sometime this year. But yes, thanks so much for sticking around if you stuck around all the way to the end today. I will see you guys in the next video. If this one doesn't go up, pray for my mental health because I'm about to throw this thing out the window. I will see you in the next video, guys. Have a good day, night, wherever you're at, and I'll see you next time. Bye.